Okay, we're going to learn a little bit about Chol Hamoed. Now, there's a big mistake people make. It's called Chol Hamoed. So some people think it's more Chol than Moed, when really it's more Moed than Chol. And really, in fact, when it says in Pirkei Avos, the Mishnah, Mavazas HaMoyades, a person who embarrasses simply means the Chagim, all the Mefarshim, the Rishonim all say what the Mishnah means is Chol Hamoed. Even though he has good deeds and everything, but it's no good. So Chol Hamoed is really more Yom Tov than Chol. It's more Moed than Chol. So a lot of halachos are forbidden. We'll leave that meanwhile. Let's speak about the positive things. Okay, so one of the definitions of a Mavazas HaMoed is how do you not shame the Yom Tovim is by honoring the Yom Tov. So it says, how do you do it? You honor it with good food, good clothing. In fact, according to many people, they wear Big Day Shabbos. What? Wine. We're not there. Honor it with Big Day Shabbos. They wear Big Day Shabbos during Chol Hamoed. Now, there's no obligation to eat bread, per se, during Chol Hamoed. The halacha says it's better to eat bread during Chol Hamoed. Some people say twice a day, some people say once a day, some opinions say once a day. But again, there's no obligation that you must eat bread during Chol Hamoed. That's why, if in the benching, let's say you did eat bread, and in the benching Chol Hamoed, not Yom Tov, but Chol Hamoed, you forgot Yalav V'Yova in the benching, you don't have to repeat the benching. Why? Because there's no Chiyah Yom Tov if you forgot Yalav V'Yova, you have to repeat the benching because there's an obligation to eat bread. Chol Hamoed, there's no obligation, as good as it is to eat bread, but there's no obligation that you have to eat bread. So if you forget Yalav V'Yova in benching, you don't have to repeat the Shmoneh Esrei. The benching, correct. Now, there's also an Indian of eating basar and drinking wine. Because the Gemara says like this, you have to be happy. So in the time of the Bais Din, how was it? With the korbanos, the meat, the shlomim, the chagiga, the various korbanos they ate. Nevertheless, it's still a chiyuv. The Gemara has an expression, ein simcha ela b'basar, and ein simcha ela b'yayin. So technically, according to halacha, according to certain opinions, it's even biblical, that you have an obligation to eat meat every day and drink wine every day. How much meat? A kezayis. How much wine? A revius. Now, there are opinions in halacha, not saying people have to be mach, but there are opinions in halacha that you can only be yaitze with beef, not chicken. Simcha b'basar means meat, like the korbanos. And yayin is, they write, no, not grape juice, wine. Because the yayin, grape juice doesn't make simcha. Wine makes simcha. But the pearl, many parts can say you can eat chicken, you can drink grape juice, and yet you fulfill your obligation doing that. Okay.
The thing you said about Chol Hamoed, that it's more Moed than Chol,
right.
You're absolutely right. They should have called
Thank you for saying I'm right.
No, they should have called it, it leads you to not to respect them. They should have called it Moed Chag. It's subliminal.
Moed Chag is Yom Tov.
No, Moed.
It's the Chol of the Moed. So compared to Moed of the 2 days of Yom Tov, 1 day in Israel, so in that respect, the Chol, you can go in a car, you can talk on the phone, but it's still, in Mishnah it's called Mavazas HaMoed.
Well, you could work, you could sign a check, you could sign a contract.
No, you cannot work. Most of our work.
First of all, with all due respect, he didn't ask you.
Huh?
He didn't ask you. He's asking me. That's number one. Number two, things that are what's called davar ha'avud, things that you would lose money if it's not done, then you're allowed to do it Chol Hamoed. If people can avoid doing any type of business whatsoever, it says they get brachas, and things like that. So if somebody has to work, they're allowed to work Chol Hamoed. There's a myth that some people say If they work Chol Hamoed, they put tefillin on Chol Hamoed. If they don't work Chol Hamoed, they don't wear tefillin on Chol Hamoed. It's a baba maisa. It's a myth. It has nothing to do with working and not working. So, if you don't wear tefillin, because Chol Hamoed is also an us. There's nothing to do with malacha, whether you work or not. So again, if people have to write certain things, yeah, you're allowed to write. Some people, like if they're writing a letter, will write a little, at the beginning, they'll do it with a shinui. They'll write a little bit at a slant. At the beginning, just to make it show that it's different. You know, if people can avoid writing, they should avoid writing. If people, now, it's interesting, and Allah, we've learned this in the previous years. Using a computer is, as far as this goes, it's not writing. So that's it. You can do something on a computer. It's not called writing. Chol Hamoed. There's always a lot of schools. There's always a labadika thing, a lively thing. A lot of schools, from schools, you would have school on Chol Hamoed. Not Pesach, but Sukkot, they would have school on Chol Hamoed. Why did they have school? Even till today, there's a lot of religious schools that have non-religious kids, so they make school on Chol Hamoed. Why do they make school on Chol Hamoed? Because otherwise the kids won't bench lulav and esrog. They won't sit in the sukkah. So like this, they make school. It's lighter, you know. They don't make a. So there's a question once, many times, can teachers give homework for Chol Hamoed? Can teachers give homework for the kids to do Chol Hamoed? So the kids would always scream, "You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to write. You're not allowed to have homework." And it's not necessarily true. If they give homework, you could write Chol Hamoed for that. It's not such a terrible thing. So therefore, people should drink wine and eat meat. Again, at least the kazayis of meat, the revius of wine. In fact, it says in Yerushalmi, it says that one of the reasons why you're not supposed to work Chol Hamoed is because you're supposed to learn Torah. That's why the Chum said you can't work Chol Hamoed. Now another thing is like this. Are you allowed to cut your nails during Chol Hamoed? So the din is, if you cut them out of Yom Tiv, mamish the day before Yom Tiv, you can cut them Chol Hamoed. If you didn't cut them before Yom Tiv, then you're not allowed to cut them Chol Hamoed, even if they're long. So again, cutting nails, why it's the same thing with a haircut. You're not allowed to take a haircut during Chol Hamoed, unless if it's somebody that was physically not able, much of the Mishnah made Cotton says, guy was in jail. He got out Chol Hamoed, or he just finished Avelis, whatever. So then, because he couldn't take a haircut before, he's allowed to take a haircut Chol Hamoed. What happens though on a regular person? Chacham said you're not allowed to take a haircut Chol Hamoed. Why? Because there were times, because the Gemara has an expression, you shouldn't enter Yom Tov Kshum Misnavel. When you're looking to, according to the Gemara, long hair is despicable. So, if a person says, you know, Chol Hamoed, I don't work, I have a lot of time, every Yom Tov, it's too hectic, it's too busy. I won't take a haircut Yom Tov, I'll take a haircut before Yom Tov, I'll take a haircut Chol Hamoed. Why not? So halacha says you're not, because they didn't want people going into Yom Tov with long hair. So, but if it's a scenario where you couldn't take a haircut before, then you're allowed to take a haircut Chol Hamoed. For instance, I'll give you a practical case, not by Pesach, but by Sukkot. If a kid turned 3 on Sukkot, so he is up Sheminish. Now, according to custom, he wasn't allowed to take a haircut before Yom Tov, because he wasn't 3 yet. Now is Yom Tov. So the minig is taka on Sukkot to make up Sheminish. But that's only if the birthday is on Yom Tov. If the birthday was out of Yom Tov, he turned 3 out of Yom Tov, and they just, too hectic, they're going to make the Chol Hamoed, then you're not allowed to. Pesach, you're not allowed to for a different reason, because of Sfira, not because of Chol Hamoed, because Chol Hamoed Pesach is in the middle of Sfira, and Sfira you don't take haircuts. So haircuts you can take, but somebody called me today if, let's say, the mustache is getting in the way of eating, so that you could trim even the Chol Hamoed. What?
I love like manicure, pedicure for the coloring, for painting the nails.
Painting the nails for men or for women? Oh. Men, as of now, wouldn't be allowed to do it a whole year. But again, if they took the haircut, if they cut the nails right before Yom Tiv, Mamish Erev Yom Tiv, and they want to do it Chol Hamoed, technically they could. It's an interesting question. Somebody called me that they want to do a project in Chol Hamoed with kids coloring. Now, one of the things you don't do Chol Hamoed is writing. Okay? If you avoid, with things you have to write, you have to do things, you have to, it says a guy's learning and they get brainstorms and learning, they're allowed to write, you shouldn't forget it. Somebody has to pay a bill, somebody, whatever, those things you're allowed to write, but you try to minimize the writing as much as possible. So the guy asked me, can you have a kids program, say Chol Hamoed, they want to make activities for kids, they want the kids to color. So there, that says in halacha clearly the kids are allowed to color during Chol Hamoed. That says clear in halacha the kids can color Chol Hamoed because for them it's enjoyment. It's not really. What did you want to ask?
A second ago you said long hair is despicable.
Yeah. Well, what's the definition of long hair?
Right.
Well,
Is there like
we'll leave it at everybody's discretion.
really?
What's normal?
Okay. Let me tell you. From a halachic point of view, a regular kohen had to take a haircut once a month. Because after a month, it's called long hair. Kohen Gadol took a haircut once a week. The Kohen Gadol took a haircut once a week, the high priest. The Mishnah says in Sanhedrin, Melech mistaper b'chol yom. The king, the Jewish king, took a haircut every day. Took a haircut every single day. So, in fact, the Kohen Gadol, as Tasperish ben Elishit was called, Kohen Gadol had a very, very expertise type of a haircut that each hair, the top of it came to the root of the bottom one came, the top of the bottom one came to the bottom of the root of the top one. It was a whole, the guy Ben Elisha, because he was the expert that knew how to do those things, so he would give a haircut. So now the question is, what does long hair mean? Leave it to you. What?
So is it suggested you get a haircut once a month?
No. Depends how short the haircut is the first time.
Right, exactly.
One second, what?
How short would they cut it? If your hair is down
By
here.
No, the Kohanim cut it short. It was short. It wasn't long.
What short?
I don't think it says anywhere how short the haircut was. It was short. What?
By cutting nails. So you don't do it on Thursday before Shabbat usually, because it might grow the second day. That's the reason.
It starts growing more on the third day.
It starts to grow. Okay. Now, if you don't do it on Sunday, if you were to do it on Friday, it's the same thing. So how does that work out?
You could have asked the same question. If you're going to cut haircut, if Yom Tif is Friday, okay, it's the same question basically. So then it says you're allowed to.
And you're not worried.
It's not that you're not allowed to cut nails on Thursday. It's better. Yesh noyagin. It says in Hilchot Shabbos that some people have a minig not to cut nails on Friday and Thursday because they start growing on the third day. So all the doctors scream it's not true. The nails start growing right away, just like here. But what it means is it starts growing more on the third day than the first 2 days. That's what it means. In fact, according to the Taz, there's the Tzarech Gadol on the Taz, but the Taz holds you're not allowed to cut hair on Thursday either because it also starts growing on the third day. And that's in Hilchot Shabbos. And the Alter Rebbe says Tzarech Gadol because how can you say that the king took a haircut every day? So if the hair just starts growing on the third day, why did the king have to take a haircut every day? He should take a haircut every third day. Machat shin is a meiser, mein kim shvlag out there, von gashem melos gebach